So you notice that the steps are the same from last notes. I didn't change any of the steps, right? There is a typo there, so it should be counted wrong, or typo. Should be 3, 4. Okay. So same 4 steps, right? We're going to see fraction plus fractions equal other fractions, like we have been. And we're going to see fractions minus fractions, or subtraction, equals other fractions. We've done this before. That's what your assignment was on yesterday, which were the notes were on Monday, right? So we've done these steps before. That's why, like I said, that's why the notes are really, it's only half sheet, right? So we know the steps, so let's get to it. All right, so example 1A, example number 1A. So I don't have, it's not a fraction minus, or it's not a fraction, 2 fraction, it's a 1, right? But we can make a 1 a fraction. How do we make 1 a fraction? There you go, we'll put it over 1, right? So now I have a fraction plus another fraction equaling one more fraction, okay? So what I'm going to do is what we did last time. I'm going to focus just on this side here first. I'm going to add these 2 fractions together before I can do my cross multiplication. Okay, so to add or subtract, we need a common denominator, right? So what is the common denominator going to be for this guy? So over here, right, I need an x plus 5, because I already got one over here. So I need an x plus 5 up here. Okay. This side can use a 1, but it's not going to change anything. So the 1, if you want to include that 1 so that they're equal, they're balanced, that's okay. All right, so now I got to do some distributive property here. So I got to distribute the 1. So I get 1x plus 5. And then I have a plus 7, right? I have a plus 7 there that I have to tag on as well. And the bottom is going to be my common denominator. Okay. Simplify, I can simplify a little bit more because the top shares, oops, not that guy, this guy, these 2 right here. These 2 are common, or like terms. So I can add them together to get 12. We have x plus 12 on top. On bottom, we have x plus 5. I'm going to put parentheses around them because they're binomials now. Equals. Now I can bring down the other side. The other side I haven't even looked at. I'm going to bring that guy down now. So I get a negative x over x plus 5. Well, I have a binomial down here, so I'm going to put it, anytime I have one that's already there, I always put them together like that. So it just reminds me it's a binomial. Now the minus sign, the minus can go with the bottom or it can go with the top. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but it can't go with both. The only thing you can't do is put a minus here. Oops. Is try this. Oh, it'll goes there. And oops. And there. It can't go in both. Okay? Pick one. I would choose, personally, I would choose the top. Because the bottom, if you put a minus on the bottom, then you have to distribute the negative, right? If you just put it with the top, you don't have to do that. Okay? Step 1 is done. Okay? Now we have a fraction equal to another fraction. Cross multiply. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply now. So I'm going to cross multiply here, cross multiply here. So one side, it's going to be negative x and then times x plus 5. The other side is 2 binomials. 2 binomials. Okay. So I can't distribute a property. The left side, I can't do distributive property. The right side I can, because it's just negative x is a monomial. So I distribute there, and I get negative x squared minus 5x. And then I draw a little arrow here because over here I'm going to do some multiplication. I need a little more room to do multiplication box. Okay, so I'm going to set up a multiplication box. X plus 12 is one of them. X plus 5 is another one. X squared plus 12x plus 5x, and then plus 60. Okay. Before I bring it back, so eventually I'm going to bring it back, but before I do that, I got to combine some like terms. Okay. Okay. So now I'm here. So done with cross multiplication. So now I'm right here. So now I need to solve. This is the part where I simplify and solve for x. I see that I have x squareds on both sides, right? Anytime I have x squareds, I got to get everything on one side. Set it equal to 0, because it's either going to be a trinomial or a binomial. Okay, so I'm going to add x squared to both sides. Okay, so when I do that, this side cancels out. I get 1x squared plus 1x squared makes 2 of them now. Bring everything else down. Okay, one more step to set it equal to 0. Add 5x to both sides. Okay, it's a trinomial, right? It's a trinomial. We have steps to factor and solve trinomials, right? First step is set it equal to 0. Done. We already did that, right? We did that step. We just did that. Second step is GCF. Is there going to be a GCF? Yes, there is, right? What am I going to divide? Oops, I just told you. What am I going to divide them all by? 2. So I'm running out of room here, so let me move over here now. So when I divide them all by 2, I get x squared plus 11x plus 30. Now, on the inside, I can do ABC. Okay, so now I'm going to do ABC. A is 1, B is 11, C is 30. So multiplies to be 30, adds to be 11. There you go. Positive, positive, 6 and 5. So I get a 2 out in front. Okay. Separate and solve. Last step. So I get 2 answers. They're both negative. One is negative 6, and one is negative 5. That was going to be my next question. Yeah, someone else asked in another class, what about that 2? What do we do with that 2? And here's the answer. So the 2 is important to be out there. But when we solve, unless it has an x with it, it doesn't involve itself in the answer, right? So you don't need to worry about it. If it had an x with it, then I would need to set up this, I would need to set up that and solve for 2, right? And I would get 0 as another answer. It is important though, because we needed to factor, right? We needed to factor the 2 out. So it is important to write out there, but it's not gonna affect the answer. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. I have 2 answers. Or do I have 2 answers? Is one of them extraneous? Yes. If I plug in a -5 here, -5 plus 5 would make a 0 on the bottom. Same thing here, right? It would make a 0 on the bottom. I can't have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. If you don't believe me, ask your calculator. Divide by 0 and your calculator will say error. So that means this guy here is extraneous. So we don't include that in our answer. We just include -6. One box, -6, enter, enter, you're done. Okay. So same steps as we did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, but it looks a little different. So that's why the notes aren't very long, because same steps, but it looks a little, there's little tweaks to today's. Okay. All right, so let's look at number 2, or letter B, 1B. Okay. One of them's not a fraction, so I can always do this to make it a fraction. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is get these 2 together. So I want to subtract these 2, -6 minus 6 over x minus 1. I want to have one fraction with a common denominator. So I have x minus 6 and I have positive 1. What's the common denominator with x minus 6 and 1? And it needs an x minus 6, yep. Okay. Okay, so when I do that, I need to distribute my -6 here and my -6 there, because it was already there. So I get -6x plus 36. And then I also have a -6 up here from the top, so I write -6 as well. And then the bottom is, now the bottom is the common denominator. Okay. I can combine some like terms here. Positive 36 and -6. Those are going to make positive 30. Okay. Now I have a fraction. I've combined those 2, so now I'm going to bring down the fraction I haven't used. So when I do that, I'm going to move the x to the top, and I'm going to put x minus 6 in parentheses, because it's a binomial. Same thing over here. I'm also going to put a parentheses in there too, because those are binomials. They come in together. They're together. Okay. Step 1 is done. Add or subtract. I subtracted them with common denominator. They both have their common denominators. So now I got to cross multiply. So one side is going to be -6, negative x minus 6. The other side is two binomials. Okay. Now I got to simplify before I can solve. So distribute. Yep, you're right. Okay. This guy over here, it's a binomial times a binomial. So now I have to do the multiplication box. So when I do multiplication, I get negative 6x to the second power, positive 30x to the first, positive 36x, and then negative 180. Okay. So before I can go back, I need to combine some like terms. So I have negative 6x squared, positive 66x, negative 180. Okay. Okay, so I'm simplifying this done. I did the multiplication box, I did distributive property, now I'm here. Okay, so now I have to solve it. Well, I see I have squareds. So if I have squareds, that means I got to get everything on the same side. So I have some options here. Because I had one student also had a different student ask me, I'm confused as to which side do I get everything on? Do I get everything on the right side of the blue line or the left side of the blue line? My answer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Does not matter. But knowing that, you have to remember that my next step eventually is going to be ABC, right? When I do that, I can't have a negative A. A can't be negative, or else ABC doesn't work. Okay? So knowing that, I'm going to choose to do this, to add 6x squared to both sides, because then that's going to make A positive. Because over here, it's going to be 5x squared. Okay? Is it wrong if you did it the other way? You added x squared? No, it's not. You would just get negative 5x squared. Okay? So let me move everything down. So your GCF would have a negative, yeah. Your GCF would have a negative. Okay? Negative 66x 5x squared minus 60x. One last step to get it equal to 0. Plus 180. I got nowhere to add it, so I'm going to add it to the end. Okay. So now I have a trinomial. So set it equal to 0. Well, that's what I did here. Okay. GCF. you can divide them all by 5. So you get x squared minus 12x, and then this is plus 36. We divide them all by 5. Okay. Now I can do ABC. So A is 1, B is negative 12, C is positive 36. So I got to find the two numbers that multiply to be 36, add to be negative 12. There you go. Yep, they're both going to be negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 6. Separate and solve. You're going to get two answers and they'll both be the same. Okay. So when you go into delta math, you don't have to put both. You can put just one of them. Only if they're not extraneous. Are they extraneous? Yes, they are. Yep. If I plug in a 6 here, that would make this 0. That's not good. Same thing here. If I plugged it in here, it would be a 0. That's not good. So, nope. Nope. So how do I answer delta math? How do I give no solution, though? If they give me that option. If they don't, there you go. Blank box, empty box. Yep. If it's a test, if it's like a paper test or a non-delta math, you can use this symbol here, like Bennett said. You can use that symbol there. That means everything, there's nothing. There's nothing there. Or if it's on delta math, empty box. Okay. All right, so the questions on the back. We're not going to do those questions on the back. So cross those out, X those out. We're not going to do those. What we will do, though, is we're going to do a couple more practice problems in your notebooks. So wherever you're going to tape this into your notebooks, you're going to tape on top, and then you're going to lift up, and then you're going to have some problems under that, right? That's where I want you to do it. Okay. So we'll call this one C. Problem C. All right, and I'm gonna let you guys do this one on your own, and then we'll all do it together with you. But I want to give you some time to try this one. So here it is. Let's see, x over x plus 1 minus 4 equals a negative out in front, x plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys about 5, 6, 7 minutes to try that one on your own. Get as far as you can. If you get all the way, great. If you don't, it's okay. Mistakes are supposed to, if you're going to make mistakes, today is the day to make mistakes, right? You don't want to do it next week, right? So if you make mistakes, if you learn from them, next week you won't make those mistakes. Okay, so try it, and we will do it together. Okay, so I did a couple steps. I haven't done everything yet, but I did a couple steps. So the first thing I did was step 1, common denominator. So I got to get these two guys together. So x plus 1 was a common denominator. I had to distribute a negative 4. Okay, so when I distributed a negative 4, I got negative 4x minus 4. combine these like terms, and I got negative 3x minus 4. X plus 1 as the common denominator. Bring down what I haven't used, the other side. I move the negative to the front. Cross multiplication now. Then I have a multiplication box. So the multiplication box was negative 3x minus 4 times x plus 1, and I got negative 3x squared minus 7x minus 4. And that's where I stopped. Done with the simplifying. Now I got to get to the solving part. Now, because I have x squareds on just one side, yep, just one side, I'm going to get everything on that same side. Okay? So that's my next step. So I'm going to add 1x to both sides, and that's going to combine with the 7, negative 7x. So you get negative 3x squared minus 6x, and then bring down the minus 4. Okay. One more step to set equal to 0. Add 1 to both sides. So I have negative 3 now there. Okay. Okay. Simplify is done, or solving now. So now it's a trinomial. It's got a GCF, but in order for me to do ABC, which is the next step, A has to be positive, and right now A is not positive. So I have to divide it by whatever number and then a negative at least, right? So what number can I divide them all by? Negative 3, right? Yeah, I would make it negative 3, not just regular 3, negative 3, because then that will make A positive. So then my next step I can do. So negative 3 on the outside, 1x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay. Now I can do ABC because A is positive. So I get A is 1, B is 2, C is 1. So multiplies to be 1, adds to be 2. What two numbers multiply to be 1 but add to be 2? 1 in itself, yep. Positive 1, positive 1. Okay. Separate and solve. Okay. Same answer twice. Now the big question, step 4, is it actually an answer or is it extraneous? It's extraneous. So all of that for a blank box. But we wouldn't have known that until we did this, right? If you did a blank box before that, that's just a guess. But we're actually, now we know it's going to be a blank box. Or that symbol there. Okay. But if that symbol's not available, blank box. Okay. All right, we're going to do one more. You're going to do one more on your own, then we're done. One more, we'll call it letter D. Letter D. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so I'll give you 5-7 minutes Try it on your own, and then we'll do. All right. So I did the first up here. I did the first step, step one. I haven't done cross multiplication yet, so I'm going to do cross multiplication next. I got a common denominator of x plus 7. Cross multiplication. So when I do cross multiplication, I get one side is negative 4x and then x plus 7. One side is negative 5x minus 36 times x plus 7. One side I can do distributive property with. Squared minus 28x. The other side I have to do a multiplication by. So negative 5x minus 36 and then x plus 7. So you get negative 5x squared, negative 36x, negative 35x, and then this is a big one here, negative 252. Thank you. Negative 252. Okay, combine these two guys, bring them back. 52. Okay. All right, so now what I have to do is get everything on the same side because I see there's x squared. There's x squareds on both sides. X squared and x squared. So I have to get everything on one side. That means get everything on one side. Okay, so again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you add 5x squared to both sides first or you add 4x squared to both sides. It doesn't matter. Okay, as long as you do all the steps correctly, it does not matter. So I'll add 4x squared to both sides. I get negative 1x squared. Bring everything else down. Okay. One last step to make it equal to 0. You got to add 28x. When I add 28, I get 0 over here. And I get negative x squared. This is negative 43. Yeah, 43x minus 252. Okay. My next step would be ABC, right? But I can't do ABC right now because A is going to be negative. So that means I got to factor out a GCF. So the GCF is just going to be negative 1. Negative 1 just changes every sign. It doesn't do anything other than change the signs. So the GCF is now negative 1, x squared, positive 43x, positive 252. Those are still big numbers. Those are still big numbers, and I don't have another GCF to factor out, right? Well, if you're in class and you look over my shoulder here, I did this last block. So I came up with the numbers that multiply to be 252. 63 and 4. 42 and 6. 28 and 9. 21 and 12. And 7 and 36. Which one of those is going to give me what I want for this problem? There you go. Oops. A is 1, B is 43, C is 252. So I'm looking for the two numbers that multiply to be 252 and add to be 43. And that's going to be 7 and 36. I just used my calculator to find that. Divided it by 4, divided by 6, divided by 7, divided by 12 until I got an answer that I wanted. So x plus 7, x plus 36. You're going to get two answers. You're going to subtract 7 from both sides. You're going to subtract 36 from both sides. So you get negative 7 as one answer and negative 36 as another. One of them is extraneous. Which one is extraneous? Negative 7, because if I were to plug it in way back up here, negative 7 would make a 0 here and a 0 here. Can't have a 0 on the bottom. We are done. Okay? So negative 36 is the only answer that I could have.